Today is Friday, April 24th, and I kind of wanted to go over something you're going to be getting in your email this evening. This is a fifth grade remote instruction plan that Mrs. King and I have been working on probably for the better part of a week and a half. After receiving news from the governor that the rest of the school year, 1920 school year, was going to be completed remotely, we kind of had a conversation along with guidelines passed down from the State of New Hampshire Department of Education and the Diocese of Manchester Department of Catholic Schools. There's some guidelines that we are required to follow. We kind of wanted to talk to you about a couple of those guidelines so you know where we're coming from that went into the making of this plan, along with the survey results that you all did, which are fantastic. We're both right on the same page, the teachers and the parents, regarding where our students are, and where we need to go for the next few weeks to finish up the school year remotely. So the second page is actually a letter that's going to highlight where we got our information from, the guidelines from the Department of Education and the Diocese of Manchester. There's also 7 bullet points that we thought we'd take a look at, kind of stood at the top of our list of things that we need to integrate into our plan to make sure that our students are having the best possible experience they can. And I'm not going to read them word for word. The first one is that students can have no more than 2 hours of live instruction per day. And that's a guideline passed down to us. And in the next few pages, you're going to see a daily schedule. Lots of parents are asking if we can have some direct instruction, direct online experiences with your children. And the answer to that is yes. However, we are not allowed to have more than 2 hours of live instruction. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it comes up. We're also required to provide activities that do not require screen time. That's going to include things outside of the computer, whether it be reading or outside or counting or something that does not involve a screen. The challenge there comes in, how can you have kids working on something that does not involve a screen when their paper is challenging to turn in or look at or scan? So we think we've come up with a couple of viable options that incorporate that guideline as well. The third component we wanted to make sure to hit on was to make sure that we're reaching students that do not have access to technology. In our case, and I'll show you the survey results in a little bit, every one of our 40 fifth graders have access to technology. A very, very small percentage of those 40 students have shared technology, and we'll talk about how we're going to address that issue. Students and parents should be provided opportunities to ask questions of the teachers. You as parents have our emails, and you're more than welcome to email us with any comments, questions, concerns, confusions, or whatever. Your children do not have access to email. It is actually against school policy and diocesan policy for children under the age of 13 to have access to email accounts. So we are not allowed to email them directly. All of our emails must go through you, the parents. But we are allowed to be using the Google Classroom to provide exchange of information. And that's what we've been doing via Google Classroom or Zoom, the video conferencing. We're allowed to do that. So that's how those are going to work. And we're going to talk about how the asking of questions is going to get integrated into our daily plan. Make sure that you're aware that we have office hours during the day. We'll talk about those as we get into the daily lesson plan. That's an opportunity for your child to come in and pop in, get some help, answer some questions of anything, whether it be projects or homework or classwork or confusions. They can pop in, get some help, and then go off and continue working on their own. We're also required to set up a specific code of online etiquette, behaviors that we are expecting when children are in the Zoom rooms. We came up with a list of 10. I want to highlight just a couple of most of what I would consider easy and common sense. Some of them are a little bit more specific to PMA. And the last one, Mrs. King and I have been doing almost nonstop since March 15th, is consulting with each other and making sure that we're following best practices for remote instruction. In addition to that, we've also had conversations with the middle school teachers to make sure that we're vertically up consistent with what they're doing. And we've had conversations with the fourth grade teachers last Friday to make sure that we're bottom vertical consistent with what they're doing. And we really are fitting right in the middle. The next portion I kind of want to talk about was the survey results. In the comments field of the survey, great feedback, and it's really right in line with what Mrs. King and I had talked about, had been talking about. Number one definitely was parents wanted more direct instruction, mandated and not optional. Up until this point, all of our online opportunities have been optional. Kids can choose to pop in and out should they choose to. We're going to move into a mode that has mandated attendance, specifically with math, reading, and language arts. And you'll see that as the packet continues. We want to make sure that more students have participation, engagement in direct instruction. We have a couple of things that we've put into place, a couple of policies or rules that we've put into place to kind of encourage that to happen. We want to make sure that there's an opportunity for students to continue socially interacting. That's going to be those online office hours, lunch recess, morning meetings, times when kids just pop in and hang out and tell jokes and laugh and listen to music. We know that everyone is socially isolating and they're missing their friends. So this is a wonderful opportunity for them to interact with each other. Also, we want to make sure that there's opportunities for more individualized attention, specifically children who are quieter, more reserved, introverts, not outgoing, and incorporating our special education kids, the IEP 504 ISP action plan kids, to make sure that they're getting somewhat of individualized instruction as needed as well. We're going to talk about all of those different components as the packet continues. In the next page is some of those parent survey results. The first one I want to talk about was the access to technology. So about 91% of our kids have access to his or her own device throughout the day, with about 10% needing to share. Anyone that's in that share wedge, we've had conversations with, and we've worked out a plan to make sure that we've accommodated for that specific need. So that really isn't a problem with any of the families that we've got in fifth grade at PMA. Schoolwork during the day, this is exactly where Mrs. King and I thought that we would be. About 80% say that the workload is taking about the right amount of time, with about 17% saying that it's too little. A minor wedge is too much, and we've already had conversations with both sets of those parents. And one set of parents said that it was way too little. And you're going to see this in any type of classroom environment where most of your students in that middle group are exactly where you're teaching towards, and there's going to be higher and lower as well. So this fits in exactly what we were thinking, and we've come up with some solutions that kind of can target those kids as we move forward. How comfortable are you as a parent with the amount of time your child is spending on his or her work? Overwhelming majority are saying that all is good or it's okay. Houston, we have problems, was one parent, and we've already had conversations with them. So I think that's exactly where we were going. We've been popping in and out of these meetings. Lots of kids would come to the meetings at the beginning. I think this morning we had 5 or 6 kids pop in. 2 of them were just to say hi, and 3 kids that popped into a meeting this morning, it was just asking for help. Most kids that we've polled throughout the week are finished their work probably by 11 or 12 o'clock, which is consistent with what we've been planning for. When we're going to be doing that instructional time, mandated instructional time, we wanted to know what was going to work best, and this is exactly what we're thinking of. Most of them, almost 80%, saying that a late morning time frame between 9:30, 11:30, maybe a little bit earlier, a little bit later, works best for everybody. That's very consistent with what we were thinking, and we've integrated that component into our plan. Here's where we get into the dicey part of requiring paper assignments. Most kids have access to a printer and a scanner. There's about 10 kids that do not have access to a scanner at home. So requiring things to be printed up and then scanned in and attached kind of isn't going to work. So that's why we've been using various third-party resources outside of Google Classroom, whether it be Flipgrids or reading websites or crossword websites or something that we can do to get your student to interact with us without needing to print things up. and going digital. On the next page, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that are going to change and or stay the same. We are going to be continuing to use Google as our mode of our platform of exchanging information. A couple of parents have asked me, can you add me to the Google Classroom so that you can see what's going on? Unfortunately, that answer is no, I cannot. I do not have that power, that capability. It is specifically locked into anyone with an at pmaschool.org website email address. And that's just a safety protocol that Google and PMA have decided to use. A workaround is you can go ahead and install your child's Google Classroom account on as many devices as you want to, whether it be laptops, cell phones, tablets, or whatever. And you can access the same thing that they do. And it's very transparent, it's very open, and feel free to take that as your option. We're going to go over the daily schedule that's coming up. There's going to be a new daily schedule that incorporates mandated instructional sessions. There's 3 of them throughout the day. We will be taking attendance. We will be recording attendance over in Rediker, which is our parent portal database. Any student that does not make it to an instructional class is going to be marked absent. What does that mean? I really have no idea, but that's what we've been instructed to do. If your child cannot make an instructional session, if you could let us know via email ahead of time, that would be great. Just let us know what we need to keep track of. And if they did not make an instructional session, if you could let us know afterwards, that would be great as well. So we're not trying to figure out if everybody's okay or what we need to do to make up for the work. We will be making recordings of these instructional sessions that will be made available should you email us. What we really don't want to do is bog down Google Classroom with all of these recordings. So they'll be made available to you on a as requested basis. Lots of people have been asking about the grading that happens in Google Classroom. There is a grades tab or section within Google Classroom. Mrs. King and I really haven't been using that so much. We've been correcting things and using the parent portal, which we call Rediker, to record everything. That is our landing zone for grades. It's also where we use to track patterns. So if there's low grades or a history of missing grades, that's kind of where we use to track those types of assessments. Anytime that you see an M, that means that assignment is missing and can be made up at any point in time until the end of the year. Keep in mind that just because something is marked missing, it does go into your child's average as a 0, which can affect a lot right now. There are going to be a lot fewer grades with online learning than there was with classroom learning, just because of the nature of things. And again, any of those missing assignments can be made up. And we've already made extensions and accommodations for kids that have missed sessions or needed extra time because they're sharing a device or they weren't able to finish something. Just shoot us an email from mom or dad. That'll let us know. The best thing you can do is have your child advocate for themselves and let either myself or Mrs. King know that they need some extra time on an assignment, and we'll be more than happy to have that extension available to them. Online etiquette, I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. There's a separate sheet that I want to go over with you. The lesson plans have changed a little bit. Lots of people love the lesson plans. We've kept the format pretty much the same with a couple of exceptions. We've taken the list on the bottom and kind of incorporated it into the lesson plan itself. Lots of people wanted to have a done checklist. So as kids printed up their lesson plans, they could have an area to check things off as things are done. We've actually incorporated that into the lesson plan itself. This was done specifically to prevent miscommunications between the top of the lesson plan and that bottom of the lesson plan list. Sometimes we would forget to copy and paste things from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top, and there would be inconsistencies. So this makes it so we only type up or enter one lesson plan per subject area, and there's no chance of it getting confused any other way. We've also taken into account that there's going to be some online instruction session material covered, and there's also going to be some independent work outside of that, and we've noted those and differentiated between the two, hopefully to make it clearer and easier for you as the parent and your child to understand. There's also going to be a section for anyone that has an IEP 504 action plan that is active. I've got a separate sheet that I'm going to send you so you can see various accommodations that you can do at home that match what we would be doing in the classroom to accommodate for your child's special needs. Moving on to the daily schedule. First part is the lesson plans are going to get posted in Google Classroom every morning by 8 o'clock. You as parents will receive an advanced copy. Usually that goes out by 10:30 at night. Hopefully with this new school, it should be get out to you a little bit earlier. The morning check-in is changing from 8 to 10, only going to do about a half an hour. And the reason for that is, A, your children need time to look at the lesson plan. And over the past week or so, any issues that arise usually happen in the first 10, 15 minutes of that morning check-in. And the rest of it is then just a social time, which has been fine. But now we're going to be using that social time for instruction. So that 8:30 to 9 is a morning check-in. So your child should be getting up out of bed, looking at their lesson plans, coming to the morning check-in to make sure that they know what they need to do for their day, kind of create a mental schedule as to how they're going to proceed. Next, we have 3 instruction sessions, and each of these instruction sessions is specifically designed for specific content areas. Online instruction session 1 is from 9:30 to 10 o'clock in the morning. During that first instruction time, I myself will have 5 KD students for direct instruction math, and Mrs. King will have 5 JK students for direct instruction science and social studies. She's going to alternate between science and social studies to make sure that she has enough time to cover the topics that she needs to. And then at 10 o'clock, we'll take a 5-minute break. We will reconvene at 10:05 and we will switch. 5 JK will come to an online information session with me doing math direct instruction, and Mrs. King will have 5 KD for science or social studies direct instruction. We will then take 25 minutes off, and then from 11 to 12, we're going to have a 1-hour 5th grade language arts instruction session. That's either going to be me with 5 KD and Mrs. King with 5 JK, or both of the teachers with all of the students. We are going to start a new novel after April vacation, and our goal is to do some read alouds as well as some direct instruction. And we found that extremely beneficial, and quite a few parents have actually commented how much they're missing that. So we wanted to make sure to incorporate that into our daily plan. 12 to 12:15 is online lunch and online recess. This is not a mandatory time, and I want to take a second and talk about that. A couple of parents have asked us, can we please mandate specific office times? Can we please mandate online information sessions during the day? The only mandated sessions that we are allowed to do are those instructional times. That's the only times we're allowed to do because that's our 2 hours. If you as a parent choose to mandate that your child go to lunch recess or an online office time or a math check-in, you are more than welcome to mandate that. We are not allowed to do that. So I wanted to make sure that you were understanding where that decision was coming from. The rest of the day is going to be either an online office time with check-in time, or from 1:30 to 2 o'clock for math office time, where I will specifically answer math questions, whether it be confusions about an assignment or some direct instruction opportunities or extension opportunities or confusion with an assignment or whatever. I'll be available every day from 1:30 to 2 o'clock. And the last thing is we change due time every from 6 o'clock to 4:30. As children have turned assignments, everything timestamped to our end, and we've noticed a significant portion of the work assigned is completed before even 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock during the day. And those kids that are waiting until 5:50, 5:55, things could have been done earlier. We're not hearing any major issues that prevent kids from getting their assignments done. If anything does arise and your child completes assignment by 3, just shoot us an email, let us know, and we can make sure that an extension is provided for that need. But believe it or not, that hour and a half between 4:30 and 6 o'clock, crucial for Mrs. King and I to touch base and decide where we're going for the next day. We need to look at what happened that day and plan for the next day. Normally, we've been planning when we're at school, we plan for a week at a time. Ever since mid-March, we've been doing one day at a time because every day imposes new challenges and changes and flexibility on our end. So that 1.5 hours between 4:30 and 6 o'clock doesn't sound like much, but it really is. And hopefully we can finish up our lesson planning a little bit earlier in the evening. So that is going to be followed every single day, that lesson plan. So you want to print that up or have that available on a whiteboard or something in your child's room or wherever it is that their home base is. That would be fantastic. The next page is the Zoom online etiquette. We've been using Zoom for online meetings. Really, I don't want to read the whole thing, with the exception of number 3. If you make sure that your child is using first name, they log into Zoom, that's going to help tremendously. What's been happening is kids come in with these random names that we don't know. Their mics are off, their screens are blank, and they've got a name that we don't know. As a security protocol, we've been asked to have kids use their first and last name. And also later on, I'm going to talk about having their microphones muted and their camera must be on. If their camera is not on, then they're not going to be allowed in the classroom during these instructional times. That's just an engagement factor that we've decided to put in. If they need to get up and leave or whatever, please have them do that getting up and leaving or bathrooms or snack, whatever it is, before or after times. I also wanted to talk about number 7, attendance. Please make sure that they're involved. Sitting back just watching everything is going to be the most effective strategy for your child. Having them get involved, keeping that camera on, turning on their microphone if and when they want to get involved, that's going to be fantastic. There will be attendance take. Participation grades are going to be given out. If they want to have a little munchy munch on the side that they're eating or drinking, we do not have a problem with that unless it becomes a problem. Also, if they can be taught, and we're going to kind of go this with them, to be prepared classes 5 minutes before they happen, that'd be great. What we don't want to do is start such a very, very short 30-minute or 60-minute window child waiting 5 or 10 minutes to kids actually show up. So the instruction session starts at 10 o'clock, starts at 10 o'clock. They need to be in that room ready to go at least 5 minutes early. And they really shouldn't be getting up out of their seats, moving away from their computers unless they have permission from you or the teacher. We've had conversations with middle school teachers and 3rd and 4th grade teachers, and that's been somewhat of a problem. And again, we're going to send a copy of the special education form to moms and dads with kids that have active IEP 504 ISP or action plan on file at PMA. I have been told if you're up for renewal, special ed accommodation plan, Mrs. Tui is working out a way to have a conversation with you about renewing that for middle school for next year. Please don't worry about it. Everyone at a certain time that they're going to be contacted. We're just now getting into that type of thing. Basically, that's all that we have for you. You'll be getting a copy of this in email the next probably this evening. If you have any questions about that or concerns or issues, don't be afraid to send us an email. Let us know. We want to work with you. We miss your children something fierce. We want to take every one of them again to 5th grade, but apparently that's not an option. We look forward to hearing any feedback from you. Are there going to be speed bumps along the way? Absolutely. We want to make sure that this is flexible, that we understand that things need to be changed. But taking into consideration what we've come up with as professionals, the feedback that we've gotten from you as parents via the survey or various impromptu Zoom meetings, I think this is going to work effectively. I think your children are like screaming for some routine, some schedule, and some direct instruction. And I think this is going to work out fantastic. Again, if you have any questions, let us know, and we look forward to hearing from you.